All right, it is 3 o'clock in the morning, Arizona time, and my buddy Ben and I are getting ready to jump in the truck and go pick up an old 1960s P car. What kind of P car are we gonna get? Comment down below and figure out what we're gonna go pick up today. We got our Nissan Titan gassed up and ready, and we picked ourselves up a trailer here in Phoenix on our way to the Midwest. We're gonna travel through 3 states today to get to where we're going to pick up this P car. So I just want to make sure all of our running lights were good. We are set to go. So wish us some luck on this trip. It was cheaper to rent the trailer here in Phoenix and return it back to Phoenix at the end of the weekend than it was to rent the trailer where we're going and bring it back. All right, on the road we go. We're traveling all the way through Arizona, through New Mexico, all the way to Oklahoma to pick up this 1967 Pontiac Firebird that has been sitting right there for 26 years. Not started, not ran, just sitting there. This is my brother's car. So me, along with a few friends, tried to get this. We were hoping to be able to start it up and at least drive it onto the trailer, but we found that it was missing parts, and we had a steering box that was locked up that would not move. And talking to a few buddies and everything else, there was just no way we're going to make this thing work. So with that, we enlisted some very redneck engineering ideas to get this car up on the trailer. Since we couldn't move the steering wheel, we detached the tie rods to be able to steer it a little bit. And we got this kind of based, as good as we could. And then we jacked it up, and some good old Okie redneck. We used a rim of a tire that was just laying around to kind of help us out here while we were able to position the car in the perfect spot to get it up on the trailer. And so Jason, my brother-in-law, doing his best to get it up, and Ben there's drinking, and then pushing that thing all the way up onto the car. So home we headed back to Phoenix, Arizona. It was a good trip. We did really great until about the last 100 miles when the wheel bearing on the trailer caught fire. And so we had a fire. We tried putting it out. Cops showed up. Fire trucks showed up and everything. But the blessing was the tow truck driver, totally freaking cool dude. One of the problems we had was when we put the car originally on the trailer was the fact that how are we going to get it off the trailer? It had 4 flat tires. We couldn't find any tires for it. He was able to just dump it right there into the garage. Kind of like saved our bacon a little bit on that idea. Next, I went through trying to figure out the history of this car. My brother passed away in 2019, so it was, kind of a thing for the family. He'd owned this car since 1979, so we stripped it out. The floors are really in great shape, just a little bit of rust, not enough to require a full new floor, so we can just kind of cut some stuff out and weld in some patches. We went through the trunk of the car and picked out a huge amount of spare parts. So obviously the distributor, first of all, this is not a Pontiac motor. This is a mid-70s Chevy 350 small block, missing a few parts. So we kind of went through and did our best to try to get this thing to run. Has an Edelbrock carburetor on it. So first thing we had to do was make sure we can get the car to start. I wanted to see where we were at. So checking on the carb, checking spark plugs, checking oil, getting everything pulled together here. And yep. So we replaced the plugs, but we put new plugs in. We figured those plugs have been sitting since 1995. Look at the corrosion inside the water. So we ran water through the radiator and through the system to try to flush out all those crystals. We turned it over by hand. I finally wound up putting in a new radiator, but there was so many little things that had to be done to this car. The wiring for the battery was off, so we ran a new battery wire from the battery to the starter and then to ground. And then our next problem was trying to just get it to turn over, and we got it to turn over, but then the starter started to fail on us. So test the starter, and sure enough, bad starter. Well, back to the auto parts store. We went to get a new starter. We put the new starter on, and now we can at least turn it over and get it to move. But we still couldn't get it to run. So now, out of the old distributor, we got us a new eBay distributor. We slapped it in there, hooked it up, got some wires, made sure the timing was correct. We did our best to get the timing correct. And I'm a Porsche guy, so this is the first time I had worked on a V8 motor, American V8. And so the first few attempts we had to try to start this thing, well, the fuel pump was not working. And then we had to, because we went from points distributor to HEI distributor, we had to run a wire from the distributor to obviously the accessory to get power to that HEI. So we dealt with all that. We got a battery for it. And again, our ignition switch was just hanging out, not installed correctly. We got a fuel filter. We got some new fuel lines. We ran all that. We put the plug wires on. Just little by little trying to get everything together. And our first start. And yeah, we're trying here. We're trying a little bit more. Try again. Bam. Yeah. We had that distributor off a whole 180 degrees. So then we pulled the distributor and we flipped it to where it was then would be pointed at top dead center for piston number 1, like it should be. Then we bumped it over, bumped it until it was about where we needed it to be, and then pulled it up, moved it over, dropped it back down, and now we can at least get it to be correct. But we still could not get the damn thing to start. Then we realized our freaking battery terminals were red hot. The grounding issues everywhere. So, back to the auto parts store. We got all new wiring for the battery. Reconnected everything up. Then we're like, uh-oh, fuel pump. We're not getting fuel. So, fuel pump. Back to the auto parts store. CarQuest. Got a new, that. Started to fire it up. Well, guess what? We had to rebuild the Edelbrock carb. So we pulled the carb, we rebuilt it. There's a video link to it somewhere. I'll post it down below. You can check it out. And we figured, okay, we've rebuilt the carb. Let's go ahead and drain the oil for after 20-some plus years. It was due. New filter, new oil. Let's get this all topped up. We started it, and we tried it, and we tried it, and still nothing. And I had friends come over and help me. You know, my son even came over and helped me. There's Robert right there trying to get it to go. And getting it to go, just,
What happened?
We had so many problems. And then we finally did it.
All right, you ready?
Ready?
Okay, give it a shot. One more time.
And that was something else to hear this car start up for the first time in 25 plus years of sitting out there in the field in Oklahoma behind the house of my brother. So with that, we cleaned the fuel system.
All right,
I put some
so
gas in.
Put our beer over here. No. That's not going to work. Sit. All right. The shifter we got installed. I have not had a chance to weld that in. But let's fire up. Let's give it a few pumps in the old gas pedal. Let's fire up. Nice. Now, Keith, another drink for you. Shut it. All right, KJ, let's go take your bird for a ride. There here we go. First drive. She's a going. No speedo, that's okay. We're just gonna go around the block. This is freaking awesome. After picking this thing up from Oklahoma and dragging it back all those miles and all the struggles we had to get it here, once we got it here, everything we had to do to get it to this point where we're at today. It's the 2nd of May 2021. We went and picked it up mid-September of 20, and we're driving her. We're driving her. She's gonna need a lot of work. She's gonna need a new roof. All 4 corners need to be rebuilt. New shocks, new suspension. I think we pull the motor. I think we do some stuff with that. I'm just freaking excited as can be. Amber, Deb, Jason, all you guys, KJ, Keith, my brother, this ride's for you guys. That's awesome. Hot diggity damn dog. Smiling too much, I apologize. It's been a labor of love getting this together, and times I couldn't work on it because of work and everything else and weather, and now I'm driving it around the block. I feel like Derek from Vice Grip's Garage, like I'm driving the shit. I didn't know who he was until after I got this and someone suggested I watch his videos. There's like no rubber anywhere, so you can hear all the metal squeaking. And yeah, no.
And just as I was enjoying that little trip around the block, at the very last part of this thing, I lost the transmission. The hose that ran from the coolant line from the vacuum popped off, and we just basically dumped tranny fluid all over right there on the street, and I couldn't move. So with that, I had the wife help me out, and we pushed the car back in the driveway. We were that close, that freaking close. Seth, my neighbor, came over, and we helped push me the last little bit in to the garage there. With that, we knew the car was running, so now the next part was to strip it down. Now starts the whole process of rebuilding my brother's 1967 Pontiac Firebird. So with that, we removed the front bumper, we removed the fenders, we did the process of removing everything to where we can get down to the basic subframe to start rebuilding the front suspension. Seth came back over, helped me remove fenders. Great neighbor there. Always brings beer. That's always good. Have a neighbor that brings beer. Good tip. Good tip. Follow that tip. So one of the fenders we noticed was a GM reproduction. So at some point in time, this thing must have had a little fender bender. And you can see the overspray there. On the driver's side, we had to remove this little special bracket. But eventually, we were able to move it. Oh, and that dent right there we'll talk about in 3 to 5 years after the statute of limitations is up on that dent. And so with that, blew off all the smoke, followed our checklist of everything we had to do in order to remove the engine. We pulled the wire assembly, jacked it up, and then the process. Drain the oil, undo the all the bolts for the transmission, and then, then the transmission comes apart, and we start taking apart all the things that we need to. Disconnect the fuel system, disconnect the carburetor, put the plate on so we can cherry pick it out of there, remove everything else, remove the drive line, get the fuel pump out of the way, motor mounts, and then slowly but surely we pull that Chevy 350 out. And now starts the next part, phase 2 or year 2, season 2 of our Firebird build when we rebuild this motor, look at just the red blood right there of putting this car back together the way it should be. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and make a comment on this video. And we'll see you in the future as we continue to rebuild this 1967 Pontiac Firebird.